All right, everybody, welcome back. It is day 3 of Becoming the CEO week. And today we are talking about designing the roadmap to success one day at a time. So, first things first, hey, Brian, how's it going? Welcome back.
Yes, it's going well. I'm excited to get into this topic, but I'm going to follow your lead because this is your arena.
So we're gonna make it both because we're gonna talk a little bit of strategy stuff, and then we're also gonna talk about the energetics and how
Yeah.
that kind of affects it and how it comes into it and how you guys can, work with it, overcome it, and all of that. So I wanted to talk today really about planning because in order for us to actually get to the results that we're looking for, we need to plan. If you are still flying by the seat of your pants every single day in your business, not knowing what you're working on, not having any deadlines, just kind of doing whatever is coming to your mind when you sit down at the computer, and that might even be after an hour of sitting there trying to figure it out, like that's not going to work. Okay. So I really, really want you guys to get on this train of planning. And even if it's not your jam, and even if it's not something you normally would do, or it doesn't come naturally to you, I promise you that if you can get this organized, your business is going to be much more successful. So, when we do our planning, I always plan for the quarter. I never plan for the year, really. I shouldn't say never. I should say the big nuggets are planned for the year, like when we want to host an event or when we want a certain milestone to happen, but not the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty happens quarterly. So, the very first thing that everybody needs to do, obviously, is know what their revenue goal is for the year. That is a yearly thing we do need to know. From that yearly goal, you're probably going to chunk it into quarters. Now, every quarter may not have the same revenue goal. If you have 100K as your goal for the year, it may not be 25K every quarter. It may be 30K in the first quarter. Maybe it's 25 in the second. Maybe it's only 15 or 20 through the summer, and then it goes back up at the end of the year, right? So every quarter doesn't need to be the exact same. So we're going to look at the quarter that we're in. Right now, we are almost finished Q1, which is insane, but we're going into Q2 and we need to be ready for this one. This can be a really great time of the year for sales. Sometimes Q1 can be a little bit quiet, and summer is often quiet for people in coaching as well. So we really want to stack things Q2 and Q4 for sure. So when you guys are planning your quarters, the very first thing that you need to do is map out your gold nuggets, your big milestones. So you guys can probably see behind Brian is one of our couple of calendars. That one is a 4-month calendar. You can see the top 2 months are quieter because we've just erased them. We're going to be putting back in May and June. So the bottom two are March and April. And then we're going to be putting in the next couple of months, probably in the next couple of days. So on that calendar, we have all the nuggets. Like, when are we hosting the event at our house? When are we promoting our brand new Becoming the CEO program, which you guys are going to find out more about next week? When are we promoting Time Freedom Club? So all of those main things need to be decided. So the first thing is, what are you promoting and when? Really simple. Okay. Anything to add in so far, Brian?
Yeah, with just regard to what you just said too, like we also have in here, I have my son's hockey games. I have the weeks he's here. I have March break, which is also a thing I got to be thinking about with
Yeah.
him moping around the house looking for stuff to do. So that impacts business.
Yeah.
Personal life, family life impacts business. So
Yeah.
anything that's critical that happens within your family life that you need to be also aware of, you got to understand that you might not have the time or the bandwidth or whatever to have, things the way you want it on certain days as you normally would because there's a birthday or there's something going on. So it's important to be able to mesh your personal, the most critical personal stuff with what's going on in this business space as well.
Yeah, that's so good. And I'm going to tangent for a second. because that's such an important point is to make sure your personal stuff is there too and to acknowledge what's going on. And I think what most people do is they look at something like March break and they go, oh my God, how am I going to do both? How am I going to be with the kids and manage them and, make sure they're not sitting around doing nothing all day and work, right? And in their mind, they expect themselves to do both at full capacity. And it's like, no, that's not what needs to happen. You run your own business for a reason. You don't need to go to your full-time job from 9 to 5 and take care of the kids at the same time and split yourself in two. You don't need to do that, right? I think we, like when we put things on a calendar like that, you can look at it and go, okay, I know that normally I work 30 hours a week. That week, I'm only going to be able to work 10. And therefore, the weeks before and the weeks after, I'm going to bank a little extra, right? So you can move things around in your month to make sure you're not falling behind on your activity, which we talked about at the end of yesterday, the activity goals and making sure you're doing the things you need to do to get the result. But you can move them around so that you don't have to feel guilty or overwhelmed or stressed or anything when you're trying to spend time with your kids, right? This is such a good one. So thanks for saying that. So in the quarterly, 3 months at a time, we like four. You can get one of those calendars on Amazon and throw it on your wall too. So quarterly planning, knowing what the big nuggets are, the big milestones that are happening, knowing when those promotions are. So if you are hosting an event, like we have an event that's happening at our house tomorrow, we're doing one of our suburban co-working retreats. You have that event, we know it's on the calendar. We need to send out an email 3 weeks ahead of time. We need to send another one 2 weeks ahead of time and another one 2 days ahead of time, right? We're sending DMs to people to check in and make sure they got those emails. So those milestones are also marked off to make sure that we are not scrambling to do the marketing when the thing is happening, right? So this part is more about the project plans. And depending on what you're promoting, you may have other pieces. So it could be just DMs and emails, but it might also be sales pages and automated emails and checkout pages and all these other pieces. And especially if you're creating something for the first time, you need to give yourself time to do all the things. So when you know what's happening quarterly, I want you guys to actually create a project plan where you write down all the steps of everything you need to do and then take them and map them out on your calendar with deadlines weekly, right? So that you're not trying to do everything the week before and then you're scrambling and then no one's coming and you didn't send out enough DMs and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to do that. So I want you guys to be super organized, creating a project plan for each of the promotions that you're doing, each of the offers that you're making, knowing when you're making them, and setting those deadlines for you, for yourself. Anything else, Brian?
Um,
Go to my
this can't I can't help but like remember that this brings me back to the personal training days and powerlifting days where say you got 20 weeks, 15 weeks or whatever that's leading up to a powerlifting meet.
yeah,
You have your main target, which is at this day, at this time, I'm gonna weigh in, I'm gonna warm up, and I have 9 lifts to get it done, and to total, and these are my goals and targets or whatever. So that's the result we're looking for. You reverse engineer it. Okay, 1 month out from there, I have to be here. 2 months out, I need to be here.
yes,
So you build it out because there's a plan to structure your behavior inside of, right? But what if you get the flu on week 10? Right? So like you have to expect, I wrote down, expect shit to happen,
yes,
right? Life is not going to sit back and go, "Oh, he's got a powerlifting meet. Let's make sure everything's fine and perfect for him."
right,
It's you have to plan for shit to happen.
yeah,
Flex time in your days, flexible time in your week where allow for time where you need to bump a meeting or something like that or push
yeah,
something ahead. You might have to make decisions where like, is this thing critical this week or can I move it into that week?
yeah,
Um, you might have to agree with yourself that I might have to put an extra hour in on Saturday morning to catch up on this critical thing. So I'm not behind next week, or use an hour or two on Saturday or whatever to get ahead of
yeah,
the curve too. There's opportunities. And just like with me too, in our last call, we talked about how my creative inspiration happens in these waves that I can't always predict. and you want to allow time and energy and bandwidth to get ahead if you need to or catch up if you need to. But just it's not a failure if you write down this thing, this perfect plan, and you're not following it exactly.
Yeah.
It's that's the point of it. That's why it's a plan. This is your plan,
Yeah.
but plan to be flexible
Yeah.
without completely abandoning the targets, right?
Yes.
So just be
Okay.
ready for that.
Yeah. Okay. You said so many good things in here. So I love the analogy of going back to powerlifting, right? And I used to do this the same thing when I was competitively figure skating. And we had competition season. There was the big competition you had to lead up to, and like you needed to peak at that time and all that stuff. And in personal training, we periodize programs to make sure that certain things are happening at certain times. And this is the same, right? So I just want to give you guys from the lens of quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. So quarterly is the big nuggets. It's the when is the promotion? When are the emails going out? When are the DMs going out? Mapping all of that stuff out first, creating the project plan, like Brian's saying, which should also have buffer time in it. So you never want to create a project plan where you're finishing the last thing the day before it goes live. Like, don't do that. Finish it a week before so you have a week of buffer time. You might even have a week of buffer time in week 3 or 4 if you're looking at a 12-week period, right? Give yourself space in the big project plan. And then as you get into the monthly and the weekly and daily, even like Brian was saying, it's like you do have to be prepared for things to go sideways. So putting in those buffer weeks, also putting in buffer, I usually call it flex time during the weekly planning, is like have times in your week where you're working, but you don't know what you're working on. So when those things come up, you can easily just go, okay, it's cool. I can just do it here instead. And then it's not like panic mode and stress out and all of that stuff, which will probably kill the energetic side of what's going on, right? So there's a whole bunch of things in here. And then I just wanted to go back to monthly because one of the things that we've included inside of becoming the CEO is a monthly goal setting session. And what we're doing in that session is making sure that everybody is having a chance to review, reflect, assess, and then act, which is your goals for the next month. Because too many people are moving forward without even knowing what the heck is going on, right? And tomorrow we're going to talk more about like the numbers and digging in, how to make decisions and stuff like that. But there's so much value in taking the time to do the reflection and look at what happened in the month. And I promise you, you will always think you did more or less than you did. And this way you can actually celebrate and adjust correctly. What do you have there, Brian?
I wrote down I wrote down uh, the planning and circling back, like we do like we forecast the month and then we wrap up the month with our recorded meetings, right?
Yeah.
I write down that it's important to just make sure that we're awake. Because what happens is the old version of us, the 1.0 version of us that built the first phase of our business, that is not the version of us that's gonna expand and grow and up level. There's a different version of us coming through, which is
Yeah.
all us, but it's a different version of us that's coming through that thinks and acts a different way,
Mhm.
right? But we need to be awake inside of that space because we could fall back to sleep into the 1.0 version of ourselves that is just comfortable with things being the same all the time. And we can default. We can default to old actions and behaviors, right down to how we eat, sleep, train or not train, whatever it is. The way we're being starts to shift back to the old ways. And that's why by July, like halfway through the year, going, half of the year is over. I'm not even close to hitting my target right now. It's
Yeah.
because you fell asleep,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and that's what happens. So create things and create practices that are regular that you consistently come back to the plan. Go, for one, is the plan working? Are we following it? Are we awake in the plan? Do we need to deviate slightly
Yeah.
from the plan?
Which could totally
Right?
happen. Yeah.
They say big, like big, powerful business owners too, is like the big thing is they change their minds slowly, make decisions quickly. When they know they have to make a decision, just make it quickly. But they don't change their, if you change your mind too often,
Right.
it's a moving target. You'll never find any consistency or any data to work with. So um, stay awake, do the things that keep you awake. It's
Yes.
going to be uncomfortable,
Yes.
sometimes
Do it
locked
anyways.
in, right? And that's why
Yeah.
you don't want to do this alone. That's why we have the
Yeah.
co-working space and everything. Like you don't want to do this alone. It's just
Yeah.
too big. Your goals are too big to
Yeah.
try to do by yourself, right?
Yeah.
So
This is so good. And also, like, our number one goal is for you guys to get shit done so that you can get results, right? And one of the things that we've noticed is like getting it done is the hardest part. It's not knowing what to do. It's actually not executing it. And so we've created this, system where we're having a chance monthly to get in and do our goal setting together, where we are having a chance on Mondays to do laser focus calls with one of us for 15 minutes, just get really clear on what we're supposed to do. And the whole goal is not only the results, but it's also creating that time freedom. And the way that we do that is by being super intentional about what we're working on, what the focus is, and how we're moving forward. Right. And it doesn't mean that things are perfect all the time. Sometimes they go sideways. Sometimes things happen that you don't expect. We're also prepared for that. But we want to make sure that instead of working a million hours, or I always say, like trying to work in every little nook and cranny of your day, I'd rather people work 2 or 3 hours, really focused, really intentional every single day. But the only way to do that is if we start with the quarterly planning, leading into the monthly, making sure we do our review, reflect, assess, and then act, creating our goals for the next month. And then in our weekly, like I said, creating time blocks, making sure we have flex time. So if something does come up, which it always does, we can easily move things without all the panic and stress and overwhelm. And on the weekly side, what I also find is people are spending a lot of time in the things that aren't actually the priority. And this is another skill, right? To learn how to prioritize what is actually important. And so, for example, a lot of people prioritize creating the content for their members in their group coaching program, in their membership, whatever it is. And that's important, but it's not as important as building relationships, meeting new people, telling as many people as possible what you do, right? And building your pipeline of people so that when your membership area, content creation, group coaching program, whatever it is ready, you actually have people who are ready to buy. So, one tip that I can give everybody is until you are at your financial goal 3 to 6 months in a row, you need to be spending 60 to 80% of your time on relationship building, which could be DMs, it could be going to events, it could be hosting your own events, it could be following up with people. It doesn't matter. But 60 to 80% of your time should be there, and everything else happens in the other 20 to 40%. So we really need to prioritize all the way through quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily to make sure that that is at the forefront and that we're not allowing ourselves to stay stuck in the things that we think are the most important, but really it's just what we like to do and where we feel comfortable, right? We need to step out of the comfort zone, use your time blocks, plan your week, know when you're reaching out to people, know when your events are, make sure you map it out so you're starting your invitations a few weeks before, you're sending reminders. This is coming together, project planning, time blocking, prioritizing. This is the key. And this is exactly how we built a six-figure business working 30 hours or less a week. What else you got, Brian?
yeah,
I know
I
something's
can't,
brewing because I
yeah,
see you writing away.
yeah, yeah, I can't emphasize enough the power of the weekly cycle. Y- Once Monday starts, it can go by so quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, coming back to what is the most critical right now in your business, I always ask myself too, and I ask clients, what what must absolutely happen by 4 p.m. Friday afternoon?
Yeah.
So you can like close your laptop, you can just move on, start making dinner with your family and celebrating the weekend and stuff like that. Like what absolutely must happen, but then what most critical thing, and like you said, like making connections, building relationships,
For one.
building your external marketing space, right? Also the things that you need to do within your own self-care so that your frequency is high, your energy is high, you're grounded, you're focused. But also like think about it, like some of my best successes with launching events and selling them out has been all of that work. The maintaining the relationships to you're basically priming
Yeah.
the right people to
Yeah.
take, and I'm going to use a special language around this, communication around this is you're priming the right people to take advantage of your opportunities, to
Yeah.
take advantage of the thing
It.
you've created for them,
Yeah.
right? It's not we're a
Yeah.
lost puppy and can you come to my party and be friends with me?
Right.
It's guess what? There was a really fucking cool thing that we're doing right now, and
Yeah.
this is so aligned for these people.
Yeah.
Let's keep the relationship going and prime them and have them ready to take advantage of the opportunity because people are busy and they can't see shit. And you're like you're competing with all the other distracting, addictive things that are on their phone right now.
Yeah.
So how do you keep in the relationship? How do you have their attention in a very positive and healthy, mutually fulfilling way
Yeah.
that allows you to finally say, here's this thing coming up. Would you like to join us? Or do
Yeah.
you know anybody that that would benefit from this, that would be interested in this, right? And the conversation, the context of the conversation is already there,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I love this. Like, I love it. All relationships first. We had to go on this tangent because it's so important and we talk about it all the time. And it really comes down to those priorities, right? And I think like when we go into the day, most people have a to-do list 18 million things long. And what we really need to do is make sure that there are maybe two or three things that absolutely have to happen in that day. And we also need to be aware that if the same thing keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and somehow it was there on Monday and now it's still there on Friday, and maybe it's there next week and the week after, we need to take the thing off the to do list. So, whether you want to put it in a section called parking lot, that's what I recommend. In our Asana board, that's where we track all of our action items and to do lists and all that stuff. I actually have a section that's called projects, or I have a section that's like the main one is the project. So if it's something that I'm not going to work on right now, I keep pushing it back. It's like, let's just get it off here. Let's put it into projects if we're going to work on it like soon. Or I put it into parking lot, which is like something that is a good idea that I want to revisit, but I'm not even thinking about doing it anytime soon. So projects or parking lot, that's where things go. So that we're not continuously having this same to-do list all the time. And this is where the prioritizing has to happen not only, monthly, weekly, and daily that lines up with your quarter, but it also has to happen within your day. Like sometimes things don't go the way you wanted them to, and now the priority has to change. So again, it's like being so intentional about what you're working on, how you're getting it done, where there's time in the week to do it, and rethinking this every day. And I usually like to look at things the night before so that I know what I'm going into in the morning. Like my brain is ready for, okay, I have a lot of calls tomorrow, or okay, I have to write copy tomorrow morning, or I have this meeting with this new person that I've never talked to before, right? So there's different sort of elements that are happening in the day, but I want to be mentally prepared for them. So look at it at night, choose the priorities. Some days, I should have said this before, but some days I'm actually not doing work. Some days I'm just on calls. So for me, usually Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning are my call times. Tuesday and Thursday, Brian and I like to keep clear so that we can actually work on stuff and get into deeper work. And we have co working calls usually on those days as well. And that really helps us not get caught up in switching back and forth between activities throughout the day. Call days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, work days, Tuesday, Thursday. I also like to work Saturday morning. We've actually just added Saturday mornings to the co-working program as well. So I like to work Saturday mornings. That's a really great focus time for me. And like Brian was saying before, like that can be a great time to either catch up or get ahead. So lots of opportunities there, but making sure that we are setting aside the right time and prioritizing, the right things throughout the week so that we can actually get the to-do list by the end of Friday checked off.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, regarding, what is the priority is asking like, oh, is this important right now? Is this going to lead to, if you need more people in your space, is this going to lead to more group members or leads or opportunities to make offers or whatever it is, right? If that's what the life force is of your business right now that it needs, is the thing that you're wanting to do or have on your schedule leading that way. Now, with respect to that as well, it might be important. Maybe you have this thing and you thought it was going to be, would it be a podcast or whatever, or writing up a project. It could eventually potentially monetize, or it could eventually be a big part of your marketing um, aspect of your business. But maybe it's not as critical a priority, but I think mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it could be moved to a holistic health activity where it's like I call it an art, right? So you might be recording things or writing as almost like a self-improvement, self-development thing that you may eventually bring into your business, but is actually quite healing for you to do the activity. Because I found too, like if I wasn't writing enough, I'd start to get irritable. It's like when you don't work out, like you start to get blocked energy. If you're not taking your walks regularly, you get blocked energy. So it could be part of your mental, emotional, spiritual health to do
Hmm.
some of this stuff. You just don't prioritize it as the main thing, that the critical task that needs to be done that's going to keep your business thriving and growing, right?
Awesome. Yes. I was just writing a quick note to myself to make sure I brought this up, but then you talked about it. So I was just going to say, like, let's talk about the energetic kind of impact when we do allow ourselves to get stressed out, when we do work too many hours, when we do all these things. And like one of the other things that you always say is in the moments where you think you want to lean out because you're overwhelmed and stressed and whatever, those are actually the moments you need to lean in. So some people, have over the years, with whatever it is, with the calls, with showing up, with stuff like that, even when we do a workshop and people say they're going to come, but then they don't, it's like when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like you don't know where to go and there's too much happening, that's when you actually do need to show up.
Yeah,
It's when you actually should come to the thing instead of blowing it off,
yeah, yeah,
right? So I think, those are the kinds of things that can kind of reset us and help decrease the overwhelm and the stress and all of that. And it's the exact same thing that's happening inside of the co-working space that we've created already, right? People are coming in overwhelmed. People are coming in with too many things going on. We get on a laser focus call. We talk about what they actually need to focus on. Then they know exactly what they need to do and they can get at it. So instead of like leaning out and going, oh, I can't come this week. I'm too busy. I have too much going on. I have clients. It's like if you have a client during a time where we have a co working session, it might be that if you move that client, you're going to get more out of coming to the co working session and getting reset and getting like an hour and a half of deep work done. That might actually be the more important thing for you to do that day, right? So sometimes we need to make these changes and we need to adjust our schedules and adjust other people's schedules for our own benefit. And that's okay, right?
yeah.
This is a big one. A lot of people, miss sessions or miss workshops, or if you guys are running events, not everybody shows up, right? Life happens, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes there's something they can't avoid, and that's totally cool. But I want you guys to just think for a second when this happens, like, would it actually serve me better to go to the thing, whatever the thing is, or not, right?
Yeah, there's so many benefits to it. And I sat down with one of my coaches from the past as well, and he said, Brian, write down all the hats that you wear in your business. If you're running your business solo right now,
Yeah.
you could be wearing like up to 30 hats.
Yeah.
We are fully unaware of it, right? And which hat do you need to wear at what time? And you have to remember that you need to have the CEO hat on and
Yeah.
go, how am I going to move the needle forward on my business so that this task that I'm doing, I can fire myself from and have
Yeah.
somebody else do it,
Right.
right? Right down to delivery,
Yeah.
right? Imagine you can just, if you're working in a group or working one-on-one, whatever it is that your delivery is, imagine you can eventually leverage yourself and lead a team of three leaders to deliver the product,
Yeah.
right? While you continue moving the needle forward and producing more
Exactly.
opportunities for those people, right? Like
Yeah.
that's part of the dream, right? So we have to always be kind of switching hats from time to time to kind of make sure that and I think you got to decide like out of the 30 hats, which are the like top five most critical hats that need to be worn all the time
Yeah.
to move the needle forward because it's so easy to get lost in delivery, in the front line delivery,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you another year or two go by, yeah, so business is good, it's consistent, whatever, but it's if you do want it to expand and grow and you do want to be free, a bit more free and in control of the situation, you have to allow for a space to move the needle.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is so good. Okay. I think that is everything for today, though. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to add in here?
I would just say in the daily practices, have your go-to things that it could be a 2 or 3 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30, 45 minute, even a 60 minute
Okay.
reset, recalibrate,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you need to do to just sort of like clear yourself
For yourself
to get
going.
back into the work. I found my most challenging time when I was not self-aware about what I needed in my business. Around 3 or 4 in the afternoon was when I was fighting with myself because I wasn't being productive. You know, my son was going to come home from school and then I had to be a dad and all this stuff. And I would get really stressed out, not realizing that what I actually needed was 30 minutes, like a nap on the couch or 30-minute meditation or something to just reset myself, reflect on what I've done so far for the day, what is critical to do before I start making dinner, so that I can actually focus in the rest of the evening, be with my family,
Yeah.
right? And not be on my phone while I'm cooking while the food is burning, right? Um,
Don't do that.
be aware of the times of the day where you're at your best, where you're working at your highest level, and
Yeah.
be aware that we're humans in in a body, like we're souls in a human physical body that's like a machine that needs, water, it needs food, it needs sleep. So don't expect to be operating at this superhuman robotic cyborg level
Yeah.
24/7. It's just not possible, right? So you have to manage the things that keeps your battery high and know when to take the break, dial back, mental health station, whatever it is,
Yeah.
to finish the day outright, complete, and then just move on and be fully present with the other things in your life.
I love that. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, that is it for today. We'd love to hear in the comments. Drop them below. Let us know your biggest takeaways. Let us know whatever questions you have. If you want to chat further about any of this stuff, feel free to DM either one of us. And then tomorrow, we're going to come back and we're going to be talking about how to optimize your actions to align with your vision and your results. And so tomorrow, we're getting a little bit nitty gritty into some details about how you can make sure that this happens, but really excited for that conversation as well and looking forward to seeing you guys back. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today. And we look forward to seeing all the things that you're going to say and all the takeaways. And we will see you guys back tomorrow.
All right, keep at it.
Thank you.